Hello. Hi, it's Sage. Hopefully, the audio is now sorted. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll be told. But yeah, so this is a stream to kind of re-kickstart the channel. Kind of hope that everything is a bit chill. I got really scared. Okay, it's working now. Good stuff. So long as it's working, that's fine. But yeah, I was saying I've been a bit shy to come on the camera. I've been a bit afraid to express my views and have them like solidified and all of that. It can be a bit scary sometimes. But I've been feeling a bit better recently. I've been talking to people and it will be all good. But it's good to see people in the chat. Feel free to ask questions as we go. I'm just going to be talking about my personal thoughts and theories that have been occurring while we've been in Wano and my thoughts on it. So we'll start with the flashback because that's what's happening at the moment. Now, I am really quite enjoying the flashback, which I know a lot of people aren't enjoying the flashback. But like, my thing is, yeah, that's the questions. I sorry, the chat is funny. But yeah, so Wano. I like the flashback because I like Lady Toki for being from the Void Century. I was really hoping that she would be from the Void Century. When it turned out she was, I was like really, I was really happy. And Odin has been a really good character so far. He reminds me of Luffy, but like slightly more together. I really enjoy the fact that like he kind of seeks adventure with like both hands, He seems like the kind of character to really fulfill his will. And I'm really interested to know what the ties between the Kozuki family and the Will of D are. The reason I think there's probably like some connection between like Wano and the Kozuki and the Ancient Kingdom and the Clan of D is because we know from the most recent chapter, obviously, that they did, in fact, on Laugh Tale, learn all about the Will of D, the ancient past, the Ancient Kingdom, and Joy Boy. So my thing is that this is information I've been wanting to know from the very start. This is some of the questions that we've started to build up amongst the community, for years and years and years, and we're finally starting to get some answers. And they're not just a little answer, like they're not just a tiny off comment. Like, we actually got to see Roger fight Whitebeard. Like, we actually got to know how long that clash lasted. We actually yeah, it hurts my soul that it's Laugh Tale and not Raftel. Oh my god, all the people that were saying that Raftel was a floating island because it was called Raftel, where are they now? That's all I'm saying. But it's the arc itself, Wano, hasn't exactly been amazing. Like, it's not been mind-blowing stuff yet. But with this flashback, we're starting to get some of the juicy stuff. And what I think is important to remember is that while this flashback might not have all the information, the Straw Hats aren't privy to the information in this flashback. So we were never going to get the biggest of reveals, and we still got some. So I'm kind of good with it, What else have we had? There's been so much stuff. So Luffy, obviously, I haven't been reviewing in so long. So Luffy is out the prison, the Big Mom stuff happened. Big Mom amnesia. Big Mom amnesia came back with that plot just never tied up in a way I was happy with. Like, that's my gripe. And I had some gripes with Big Mum on Whole Cake as well. And that's kind of sad. Because Big Mum is my aesthetic, you know? Chubby, as it's been pointed out. But that's all right. But yeah, so I just wanted to get into some of the meat of my theories as well. So yeah, Big Mum against Kaido, going all night, that made me happy. That there's some respect that deserves to be put on her name that a lot of people were forgetting to put on. But yeah, so my theories are basically that later on in this arc, we are going to get to see, or the Straw Hats are going to get to see some of the information that the flashback was alluding to. And the reason we're not getting it now is because we're not with the Straw Hats. If we were with the Straw Hats, we could have more of these revelations. And I think we're going to see more of that later, if that makes sense. I think specifically things we're going to find out is the prophecies. It seems like there are several prophecies in One Piece. We saw Madame Charlie in this recent chapter as a 3-year-old, which was amazing, casting her prophecies and starting to show us where the thoughts from Fishman Island had come from in the first place. And I think one of the really important things that we should take from that is she will not be the only person who's made prophecies. It would be amazing to me if we had one Oracle character in the whole of One Piece. Now, I think that Oracles are special, and I don't think there are many, but I think that Lady Toki is either partly one herself or has met one in the past. More likely that she's met one in the past. And I think she has been told about the New Dawn. And I think that prophecy lies in a poneglyph on Laugh-Tale as well, because it's in the Ancient Kingdom. Obviously, a lot of people believe that Laugh-Tale and or Raftel, whatever you want to call it, that last hidden island is where the Ancient Kingdom was. You know, that's quite a common concept. So what does that mean? What does it mean that Lady Toki has knowledge of the prophecy that could be there? Well, what that means to me is that shows us why Odin knew about the 20-year situation, because he knew, like, and why Roger finds it so funny when he finally finds Laugh-Tale. What is he laughing at? And to me, it's the irony of his fate. I've discussed this with some friends. That kind of, I found the answers to the world. I found everything that this world can give me, but there's nothing I can do with that information because I'm not the chosen one. I'm not the person in this tale. I'm not that pirate. I'm not that man. And I'll be so interested to see what it is that Luffy can do that Roger couldn't. Because I think we all know that Luffy will surpass Roger in strength, in freedom even. There's no thing that Roger was that Luffy won't embody and emboss, like become more than. And I'll be really interested to see where that goes. I'm getting like no questions about Wano. Talk to me about Wano, friends. I came here to talk to you guys because I like talking to my friends. But yeah, other thoughts and theories are that the Will of D, really interesting concept. I think that the reason that Blackbeard and the Rock's captain would be another example. I think that there is a traitorous bloodline. A lot of people do feel there's a traitorous bloodline in the Will of D. And I think that an interesting connection could be Imu-sama or I'm-sama or however that goes. You know, it could be that that's the original, the progenitor of the betrayal, and then it follows down. It could be that you know, Blackbeard just shares this heritage, Rock shares that heritage of a more malicious side of the clan. And I think that's important, because I think what's really important about the Will of D is that it is, for the most part, held by, you know, characters who go against the status quo. And I think what's important about them going against the status quo is, even Garp, he doesn't really support the Celestials. He helps them on God Valley. I feel like he doesn't regret being a Marine, but he has a lot of internal strife about who he actually serves. And I feel like Luffy represents the will of freedom rather than the will, like Blackbeard, of greed or trying to take over the world. And I think that we'll learn more about the Will of D near the end of this arc, because I believe that those answers aren't lying in this particular part of the flashback, but in a later part. What are my thoughts on Imu-sama and etc.? Okay, so I'll start with the Imu-sama. I think that his part to play in the rest of the story is that he will be not necessarily the last antagonist that we come across, but like the major antagonist to when it comes to taking down the current status quo of the world government. Because I think we all know in the heart of hearts that the One Piece world cannot go on as it is. It lives in an aristocracy. It lives in a very, not dissimilar to our world, where the majority of wealth is held and the status is held by 5%, and then the rest of the world is left to shambles. And that kind of world doesn't last forever like that. Things like war happen, you know, people get greedier. And I think that's what his character will portray. I think Umu will become the antagonist of when we have to take down the world government, and he will become what we dethrone. But I don't think he will become someone we like beat up necessarily. I don't see that in the cards. I think that his part in the story will be more of a puppeteer, and more so than Doffy could ever imagine to be, and less of a strongman to fight. What else is there? Toxic Terry. Oh my god, Toxic Terry. I can't believe you're here, bro. That's chill. But yeah, Wano I think can disappoint in a way because it's such a long build up. Because it's building up, like if you imagine the build up to Marineford, we had Sabodi, and then we had to go from there. We went to Impelled Down and some other shit. Anyway, the gist of it was that there was long setup before we got to Marineford, and Wano had to have that long setup. But we've had that, man. We've had this setup since like Punk Hazards, so I feel like we didn't need as much of a slow burn as we've got, but we've got it. So, but we are going to be coming into the main war aspect of Wano really soon, and I think that will change a lot of attitudes towards Wano. My thoughts about Joy Boy. Honestly, like, I would love it if Joy Boy was this giant who was like really strong, like the old pirate king, and he used to be the freest person on the sea, and it's Joy Boy who was like, you know, the freaking head of this ancient kingdom, and he had an alliance with all of the different races, and he was just this really chill dude who had this really cool kingdom, but he had these ancient weapons. And I think the ancient weapons, I'm not so convinced that Pluton is this massive pure black battleship. You know, there's a possibility to me that Pluton is like different. And then obviously there's the chance that Momo could be linked to the ancient weapons as well, with being able to talk to Janisha and things like that. But yeah, sorry, I'm not good at reading and talking. It's a real flaw of mine. When do I think Jinbe shows back up? Okay. To start off with, yes, I do think that he has an injury. Yes, I do think that he has a character design change. And I also think that Jinbe will be showing up when we either least expect him, like typical Oda, or when we most need him, or he'll literally pull up with like freaking reinforcements, like a complete dude, and he's gonna come in like right of the night of the battle and all of that stuff. I don't know. I'm really confused with the Jinbe stuff, if I'm honest, because here's my thing. It doesn't make sense to me for Jinbe to have shown up before now, because there was no crutch. There was no situation where we needed someone like Jinbe to show up and save the day, because that's how he entered in Whole Cake. You know, in Fishman Islands, there was an entrance and things. You know, there was setup, and there hasn't been anything set up yet, bar the fact the Straw Hats were going to meet on the coast, and they're all doing things on the coast and changing ports and things. So, you know, that's my thoughts on Jinbe. I expect him to come in soon. And if he doesn't come in soon, I would be surprised if he came in, because he's not dead. The repercussions of killing off Jinbe now in Wano or in Whole Cake is that Oda has written a sacrificial lamb that just continues to sacrifice. And that's boring. So I don't see that. I think he pulls up with the Grand Fleet and saved the ship Luffy was talking about him in the last 20 chapters or so. Yeah, I'm hoping he does pull up with reinforcements. I am. Man. You got me thinking about Jinbe now, and like, man, I love, like, when I found out that Jinbe was going to be part of the crew, I was so hype. That's my boy. And we're not going to see him until like next year. We've had like so long. It was so long before we got to see Jinbe again, and it's going to be so long before we see Jinbe again. But it's fine. Do I think Marco is coming? I personally think that it's possible Marco is coming. I think the reason that we saw him was to kind of say, you know, that might not happen. I've written why. You've all got to understand. But the reason I think he might come is because I feel like the reason Nekomamushi's been gone so long is because he's been trying to, like, you know, round stuff up properly. And at the moment, he's not got the reinforcements he needs to show his face in Wano. So it's either going to be Marco or it's going to be some other people of that kind of caliber that he's coming back with. Because where's Nekomamushi? He's also gone and hasn't arrived yet. It's Crux. It's all about writing things to come in the Crux moments when you need those characters. And Oda's quite good at doing it, and he's quite good at it making sense. But I do think that his timing is a little off this time. And yeah, it's really great that it's all going to work out for the Scarbage. You know, they're going to see that real moment of, you know, revival in their hopes when everyone shows up at a different port or whatever they're going to do, whatever Oda chooses. But I just feel like it's going to be this flashback, and then we're going to head into another flashback of all the things that were happening while we were in this flashback. Like, you know, like, because we had the night before and the crying and all of that shit. And now I feel like we're going to have that kind of oh, we're here, but what happened to get here, and who's doing what, and how are they showing up where? And I'm just like, eh. Okay. Another question. About Shanks, do you think he can reach Laughtail? And how do you think he stopped Kaido? Maybe gave him Poneglyph or something. Shanks, right, love Shanks. I think he could reach Laughtail, personally, because I believe that he either stayed on the boat with Buggy or went. I can't remember what the panel showed. I think he went, if I'm remembering correctly. I think he's in the laughing. But whichever one of the two it is, he knows roughly how to get there. He's got, like, to me, he's got the strength to get the Poneglyph rubbings that he doesn't have access. He stayed with Buggy. Okay, cool. I can't. Memory, awful. But anyway, yeah, so I think he could get there, but I don't think he wants to. And I think the reason he doesn't want to go, personally, is because he's looking for the person. Because I think Roger told him about what was on Laughtail. I think Roger obviously talked to, Buggy about the treasure. And I can imagine the reason that Buggy was never like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get that treasure, is because I think Buggy knows what the treasure is and knows that it's not 100% treasure and isn't really interested. I think that Shanks isn't that interested because he knows the truth and he's waiting for the right person to inspire, to take on that mantle, to achieve the status of Pirate King again, but also to turn the cogs in the prophecies that have been made. How I think he stopped Kaido, I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think with Whitebeard and Kaido, he had a really similar approach. Turned up with a heck load of booze, swung his sword a bit, and went, "Oi, stop that!" And I think that worked. I think he also promised him a war, if I'm honest. I think he talked to him about Luffy. He talked to him about the situation with Whitebeard. He talked to him about Teach. He talked to him about the One Piece. And I think Kaido said, okay, I'll have my own war and I'll wait for it. Because Doflamingo makes his prophecy about the Throne Wars, and I think the Throne Wars is what Kaido is waiting for. And it's up to you whether you think there's going to be another war after this for One Piece, or whether you think this is one of the final wars. I think that we'll get to One Piece before we have another war. I think the post-war will happen, maybe, but this is the main one in Wano. Where did Whitebeard get his Poneglyph rubbing from? Do you think it was from Elbaf or the Rocks God Valley? Me and Stein, who I saw was in the chat, we worked this out. So the gifted rubbing from Whitebeard must have been from Fishman Island, because Whitebeard, A, has a good rapport with Fishman Island. B, that's the only Poneglyph that we see that Roger doesn't list out as being one that he needed. And C, that's the missing one, is the one on Fishman Island. So, yeah, unless it was mistranslation. Says it was mistranslation here in the chat. I don't know. But the gist of it is that there was one on Fishman Island, one with Kaido, one with Big Mom, and one with the Minks. And that Fishman Island one is missing. So who knows where it is. Speaking of Elbaf, though, because you mentioned the Poneglyph that could be, a lot of people feel there could be one on Elbaf. I think the one that was on Elbaf is the one that Big Mom has. I think that she took that one and now has it. I don't think she was gifted it. I don't know whether Elbaf, if that's one of the reasons that they really dislike her. But the gist of it is that that's roughly where I see that coming from. But yeah, that's those Poneglyphs. Yeah. What's up with Sabo? What do I think is up with Sabo? Okay. So Oda obviously revealed that statement saying that Vivi, Boa, and Sabo will be in trouble. And I was kind of excited because that means that not only next year, 2020, are we probably going to be looking back at the Reverie stuff. You know, we're going to have little chapters away from Wano again, which I love. It also confirms that those three characters currently, while they're in trouble, are fine. And a lot of people knew that. A lot of people already thought, you know, no, nothing's going to have happened to those. They're just in trouble. And I think that's important to note. I like the idea that Sabo has been framed for Cobra's assassination. I like the idea that the death is either Kuma or Cobra, that Sabo was blamed for it, that Vivi is now currently on the run with Sabo, having fled from her dad or Kuma or whoever's assassination. And I think that the news report is obviously complete shite, as they normally are. Some Im-sama and Vivi action. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got something out for Vivi, so that was one of the really shocking moments, actually, seeing that Vivi was one of the pirates that he wanted. Pirate people. She was a pirate for a bit, but the Im-sama had something against, and I'm interested to know why, because I feel like she kind of, this is going to be way out there for some people, but she kind of reminds me of the youth of North Korea in the respect that she's learned wise of the old ways. She doesn't trust the current government. She wants to lead things like revolts against, but she doesn't really know where she stands on that. So she attends Reverie to get a better understanding of her world, to get a better understanding of the politics around her, etc., etc. You know, and I think that it makes sense that if Imusama has any idea of what Vivi could spark, then I can completely understand, you know, saying that's a cog that if I let turn will bring down my government, and I can't afford that. So this cog must go. And I think because she already has ties to the revolutionaries, you know, she's not going to be as out of place spending some time with them. So I think it'd be cool. There's some good stuff coming. There's some really good stuff coming. And hi, Valen. Hi, everyone in the chat, actually. I don't recognize some of your names, but it's good to see you all. Like, man, like, you might be like, you're so smiley and happy and all this shit. And it's because, like, I was so worried about streaming. And you're all good eggs. But yeah, more questions about One Piece, because I'm gonna chat for a little bit. When the flashback ends, what do you think we'll see? The beginning of war or something else? I think we'll see something else. I think we'll see the fact that I think we'll go either back first of all to the Scarbards to reset the tale, or we'll go annoyingly back into another flashback of what was happening with things like the Straw Hats the days before, because we skipped a lot of time, didn't we? I think people have forgotten how much time we skipped, because we had the meeting saying meet at the Promised Port, etc., and then we were pretty much at the port, and then we had a mini flashback of the night before. So I think we're gonna have like some introspection on what the Straw Hats were actually doing during that time, and I think we're gonna have some kind of look into the shore and how people arrive and things like that. I think we won't go straight back into just the present day. I think we're going to have some flashback action, is what I'm trying to say, and I'm doing a bad job of it, but that's okay. What's the best part of the flashback for you? The best part of this Odin flashback for me, no joke, okay, Whitebeard and Roger clashing and not even touching. That was pretty cool. The excessive hacky lightning coming off their blades. That was pretty cool. A lot of people weren't so convinced by the first chapter of the flashback when we got that kind of montage of Odin's childhood. I quite enjoyed that. I thought it was really funny and really questionable. Man going to the pleasure district at 12 or 10 or however old he was, 6 or something stupid. It's just funny. It's inappropriate, but it's funny. Oh, thank you, Hunter. You think we'll ever go to the Rev or what happened in Wano? I think we are going to spend some time with the Revs next year. Next year of One Piece, we're going to spend some time with the Revolutionaries and some time with Reverie as well. How Roger smashed Odin like a fly. Mate, when Roger was just swoop and Odin just gets smacked and flies back, let's be honest, he did a bit better than Luffy against Kaido, but not by much. He did come running straight back, and that's what kind of annoyed me when people were major trashing on Odin for that one, because he got straight back up, and because loads of people argue, right, that Akainu didn't get ragdolled by Whitebeard because he got straight back up. So in my book, if we're saying that's how that happened, we can say that the Odin Roger thing was, yeah, Roger's obviously loads and loads stronger, but Odin ain't as far as behind as he could be. He's just not. That's my view anyway. Controversial. I feel like after Wano, some of these characters are going to start dying like flies. I feel like during the war we're going to see some deaths. And I don't know how to feel. Because, Ashidoji has, major death flags to me. Major death flags. Saying all of the stuff I was meant to die at this time, and I don't feel like I've lived to my needs yet, and all of that. Major death flags for Ashidoji. Some for Kawamatsu as well, really, in a way, which I would hate. He's my favorite Scarbard, I think, Kawamatsu. So I think I would really I'd feel that one. I would. I'd be really disappointed if nobody dies, though, because this is an all-out war against Kaido, and I feel like if we aren't starting to get repercussions now, we're never going to get them. Odin was Admiral level. General consensus was that when he clashed with Whitebeard. Yeah, a lot of people felt that Odin was Admiral level when he clashed with Whitebeard because he made Whitebeard sweat. I was one of those people that thought Odin could be really, really strong. I think that during this part of the flashback, considering how Akainu works with how the Akainu and Whitebeard fight went, how the Kizaru and Rady fight went, I'd say that Odin is, at this point in the flashback, was just below Admiral, would be where I put him in a power scaling way. Hello, people that are saying hello. What's wrong with Blackbeard? Nothing's wrong with Blackbeard, man. Never say something's wrong with Blackbeard. That's oof. Okay, so Sage's thoughts on Blackbeard. I'm interested to see whether he shows up now or after the One Piece is found, because he's going to show up on one of the two occasions. It's either now in this war or after the One Piece is found, that war, or at actual Laugh Tale. Blackbeard to me seems like the more cunning type character, so I feel like he would try to usurp the throne rather than find it for himself. Or at least if he was to go to Laugh Tale, he might follow. You know how he tried to follow the Straw Hats to Skypiea but failed? I feel like he might do something similar but succeed. I don't know. The gist of it is Blackbeard's role to play in the coming arcs is one of a major villain, and a lot of people had a lot of hope that he would get a third fruit, that being Kaido's, because obviously that's one of the ultimate zones. I'm not convinced anymore. I used to be. He carries his pistols in threes. He has, the three skulls on his Jolly Roger. And you mean with him not sleeping, and now I've just gone on a tangent with Blackbeard. I'm sorry. But yeah, so a lot of people felt that, and I feel like maybe that's bait. Or maybe it's to do with what's inside him, like what makes his body weird. What do I think about the fetus in fetu theory about Blackbeard, meaning birth, his body is wrapped. Yeah, fetus in fetu I know of, mum's midwife, long story. Anyway, the gist of it is that was actually one that I thought of for a while. And the only reason that I'm not so convinced by it recently is because I feel like it's got more connections to him not sleeping. I liked the idea that he might have some form of like Horcruxy situation going on with Zebek, and that when he sleeps, Zebek comes out. And I feel like maybe Zebek like natters to him. It could be part of why he's got like that big old belly, is that there's a man inside him, which would be really quite horrific. But I know that these are all quite commonplace theories now. But I think my personal one that was so like Hakuba, yeah, exactly. There's a couple of anime characters where if they sleep, they turn into someone else. It's been done, and I would like something different for Blackbeard. Most of the reason why I'd like something different for Blackbeard is because he's on a setup, he's quite unique. Because he's a complete parallel to Luffy. And being that parallel, he should have things that are different that make him who he is as a separate character. And those things should be interesting and not too cliche. And I think it'd be really cool if, rather than it being like a fetus like of Zebek, or just two people inside him like kind of system, if there was some kind of passing down of wills that could be done forcefully. So Luffy inherited his will, but what if Blackbeard's will was forced upon him? I don't know. I think, or maybe Blackbeard usurped his will. Maybe he became what he is. I don't know. It's all a very I don't know side of One Piece stuff, isn't it? When it comes down to Blackbeard and the Will of D and Laughtail and all of the information that Oda's been hinting at recently, just to make it juicy enough to talk about, but not juicy enough to have any real answers. You can just see how, like, because I'm in it for the lore. I've never been in it for the fights. The fights they're cool, but like when it's been like 9 chapters, like a fight, I'm all right. Like, that's just me though. I recognize that's just me. But yeah, there's a little bit more I want to talk about. I would next like to talk about the fact that when we cut away from the flashback that's happening now, I think the last part of this flashback will probably be going back to Wano. And I think what could be happening is we could be getting the prophecy that Toki says about next in this flashback. We could be getting the reason for the 20 years in this next chapter. And I'm excited. I think it links to the Mink's New Dawn prophecy thing. I'm really hoping that we get to see more of Toki as well. But yeah, I think we've talked about Wano now. It's been 40 minutes, and I'd quite like a drink, and I didn't prepare a drink because I was like, I'm gonna stream. So thank you for everyone that turned out. I know I've ended quite abruptly, and I'm sorry about that, but it's been great, and I will have a more refined, more concise video to show you next time when I'll splurge out about my thoughts then. But it's been great. See you.